Happy Wednesday. Today we are going to work with our arguments still, the TED Talk videos that you chose this week as your assignment and then your assessment. On Monday's video, I talked about the assignment part of it, assignment number 1, taking the notes, going into Schoology and answering those questions. Today, I want to work through what your assessment is going to look like on Friday when you go into Schoology. You're going to be asked, and I'll go over here in just a minute, but you're going to be asked to write a constructed response. That means a short essay or a short answer to explain what you know about any given topic. We'll talk about that here in just a minute. Let's start with looking at your week this week. So you already finished watching your TED Talk video. I'm hoping you went out and you took some good notes. If you looked here, you were working through your data collection worksheet. Remember, if you can't print, that's okay. You don't have to print this off and write directly on it. You can put it into your English notebook where we take notes all year long. So you can just add that into your notes, and it'll still be in the literature section, but we're going to move that then into our writing. Remember, it is considered literature in the sense that an argument is still a published piece of writing. This individual that you watched gave a speech on their argument, which we looked at earlier in there when we were looking at speeches. We read Martin Luther King Jr.'s speech. We watched it, listened to it. So again, that still falls into this category of literature. And we are going to put that in that section of our English notebooks when we take notes on it. Now, if you put it in the writing section or anywhere else, it's totally okay. But I want you to know that we're taking what we've watched, so what we have viewed, and then we're going to move that now into writing and what that looks like in a structured assessment. Well, let's get started here. We also had this week, we were going to go into our Turnitin accounts, and we needed to have a conversation. We were having a discussion about, is survival selfish? So that's this continuation, this argument that we presented last week, talking about, what is it if I save myself before I save other people? What is that considered selfish? If I, give no regard for my own life and just jump in to save someone, does it make me brave or does it make me stupid? I mean, where do you fall in that argument? What was the author trying to say in their argument? I was hoping that you would be able to have a discussion. Remember, that discussion is really hard to do in this virtual world that we're in. Unless you come into office hours where we can have a few of us talking, it's really hard to meet that standard in our curriculum of that communication piece, listening to someone else's views, processing my own, and then communicating that out in a logical and respectful and thoughtful way. The best platform we have, if we don't come to office hours altogether, is to do that digitally. And we do that by working through the discussion board. In the Turnitin discussion boards, remember, I can keep that anonymous as possible, which is really nice because you don't have to worry about who it is that's saying what they're saying. You can just focus on the content, on the ideas that are coming forth. And how do you feel? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Why? What was in the author's words or in the text that made you think, feel, or believe the way that you think, feel, or believe? When I go to the discussion board, I can know that I don't have to worry about people maybe judging me when I'm speaking. I don't have to worry about what they're thinking about me. I can just openly and honestly share my ideas and get feedback and have a discussion. I'm hoping a meaningful discussion about our topic. So to do that, I go into my Turnitin account, remember? And if I log into mine, I can see, before I even get started, I'm like, whoops, look at this. I did not submit my memoir. Whew, that was a while ago. So that was due, I think, maybe the 17th. This is the 19th, sorry, it's due the 19th, which was a while ago, so I better get that in. So I'm going to submit that because it's late before I even get going. But once I've submitted that memoir, then I can focus on this week's work. And I am going to go into the discussion. And this is where I'll be able to read what people are saying. If I go here, I can see right now 3 people have answered the post. and I'm going to go out and make my post. So I just click on Is Survival Selfish? And then right here, I just read the post. Just choose one of the following questions to answer. So I'm only going to pick one of those three that I think I could write about the most. And I just click reply to this topic, type in my answer, and then I'm finished. Remember, that's part of my post. If you look up here, the next part is I have to reply to 3 peers' responses. So if not everybody's done their assignment, it makes it difficult for me to respond. So I can't really respond yet because only one person has replied. It looks like, 3 people have replied. So I guess I could. I could reply to each of these, and then I could be done. But I might just want to come back later and see if people have done their assignment. They might have just forgotten, or they might be working on math right now and they're doing English later. So I just might check in every now and then so I can get those replies posted. All right, and that's, of course, open right now as well. What I really want to focus on is this TED Talk assignment. So I'm going to go out, and I've already completed my assignment, so I'm going to look at the response now. This is the assessment. It's under tests and quizzes, which makes it a little green puzzle piece. You'll notice it says here, when I go ahead and log in, let me refresh that actually, and then we'll see what it looks like. Refresh. Dun, dun, dun. There we go, sorry. Okay, so now it's refreshing. We will look at this. There it goes. Perfect. Okay. So when I go ahead and click, remember I need to go into my courses. And if that's my course, I click in there. And then I look and see what I need to do. It says upcoming are the analysis questions because I haven't done them yet, but you probably have. And then this hasn't been published yet, but it will say right over here, you'll have a little green puzzle piece as soon as it's published. And it will just say TED Talk Constructed Response. And you'll just click on that like you always do. And when you open it up, it'll just say evaluate and analyze the speaker's reasoning and evidence used to support the claim and ideas discussed in the TED Talk argument that you've selected this week. Use details from the video and the speech to support your answer, paying particular attention to links among ideas, word choice, points of emphasis, and tone. Include your final thoughts on the presented argument. So that's the part whenever we write, if you think about our article reviews every month, right? We are doing that complete, not just a summary, but we're doing a synthesis. So we summarize, we analyze, and we synthesize. When I summarize, I'm giving the basic who, what, when, where, why, and how. So I just evaluate what's going on. That's what you have done this week with your first assignment, the questions. You evaluated what was going on to move into this analysis, which is just thinking about it, prepares you to think deeper on a deeper level. Then you want to start working about the specifics that really build up those ideas, and by analyzing, going to that deeper level there. And then you want to also make sure that you are synthesizing. That means putting it all together. And what does it mean to you? Think of that so what that we talk about a lot. When you were working on your article reviews every month, I always put, connect and reflect. So that's, connect all of this together to previous learning, to what you know, your background knowledge, what they said, what you believe. Make those connections and then reflect. So what? That's that last final piece, putting it all together and having it hopefully make a meaningful and logical conclusion. Use your notes, of course. You can use everything that you have this week. And make sure before you submit that you have proofread it, because I'll be looking at it for your grammar and your punctuation and your sentence structure and your usage and all of those conventions for part of your grade. And we'll talk about the rubric here next in just a second. Okay. So let's go ahead and look at this assessment this week. We are going to be, like I said, moving from evaluating and, which is just pulling in the information and hopefully starting to begin to understand it, then to analyzing it. So going to that deeper level, so what does that mean? And what does that mean to me? So that's what we're going to work on here. Okay. I'm just going to click off that camera there and get started here. So when I look at this, when I'm analyzing the argument, I want to think about what issue is presented? What's the author's claim, or what is their argument? What do they have any bias? Can I tell maybe that they do? Are they making some unfair assumptions? Are they jumping to some conclusions, or do they have a really sound argument? Do they have? Think about the ethos, pathos, the logos. What are they presenting in their argument? And is it relevant? Is the evidence relevant? Is it enough? I mean, do they have enough of it is sufficient, right? And is it objective? So objective just means, does it, are they just giving their opinion, or are they actually looking at all possible points and making a valid and logical argument that's believable, or we call that credible? Be careful though, because I know evaluating for some of you is new, and I don't want you to just jump to, oh, it was good, or I really liked the speech, or yeah, this was awesome. Go, 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 go. Right. So there's more than that. I want you to really be thinking about what I've asked you to process when you were doing your first assignment, and when you were reading the argument last week, and working on the actual components and elements of an argument that we had in our the graphic organizer that I gave you, and in the note-taking scaffolding that I gave you this week. So let's look at what a constructed response is. A constructed response, and I'll go over these samples here in a minute, it just stands for, we call them, you'll hear teachers say a CRT, or you might even see it written down there, a CRT response. That's just a test or a festival that is given to you that allows you to create or construct your response in writing. So you don't have to use a multiple choice, a true, false, a fill in the blank. Those are considered to be what we call selected responses. They give you some options, or you have a few to choose from. Or there might only be a word bank, you can pick and choose, or there's only one or two possible answers. A constructed response is an opportunity for you to share everything you know about the topic, and you have some freedom in getting your point across and really communicating the knowledge that you have in the background on that topic. It is formulaic in nature when you write it. Remember, we've talked a lot about formulaic writing and the world of academics, and then the non-formulaic writing, or that more free-form writing. So we've done a little bit of both this year, and I'm hoping you can see that not everything is a perfect formula. A CRT, a constructed response, is often, there is a step-by-step, I don't want to say all the time, but a lot of the time it does follow a little bit of a formula, but it's not like the strict Teal formula, that formula that we use at school a lot. It is formulaic in the sense that it still needs to have a logical exposition, and that's usually where you're restating the argument that you've heard, or you've listened to, or you've read. And then you have to move in here. You can see I have, the first reasoning and the evidence, and then the second reasoning and the evidence. So you're building on, overall, think of it as summarizing. You're really restating what you heard, what you read. And then you are going to be, so you've summarized, then you're going to be, analyzing that. So you've done the evaluating, now you need to analyze what does it mean? What are they really trying to deliver? What is the intent or the purpose? And then you move into that conclusion part. And your conclusion, you're going to be recapping, you're connecting, you're reflecting. So what? You're putting that together. So in that sense, it is formulaic. You don't bounce around. It does need to follow some sort of logical progression. So that's what yours will look like as well. When you are working in your document here, I want to show you, you'll be working in the little box, but I want to show you the rubric. So the rubric is aligned. These are over here are just standards, and you don't need to know what those are. I might even take them out for you. I was just trying to align it with what's being taught and what I'm trying to teach, what I want you to reach. All these are reading, they're writing, speaking, and listening. So that's what I'm looking for, things that we have been working on. And I want to know, are you able to find the argument? Can you see what the claim is? Are you able to show and share with me the relevant reasoning and the evidence that the speaker gave? Are you able to see that there is a claim and a counterclaim? The opposite side can be heard. Are you able to clearly address for me any points of emphasis. So those are the things that I've discussed previously, like the word choice, the tone. I want you thinking about rhetorical strategies. Those are those points of emphasis that continue to get driven home. And the word choice is critical, like I said, with the tone as well, especially when you have a topic that has, I would say, difficult vocabulary. You want to really focus on those important vocabulary words. And then when you write your analysis, I should hear you using that and explaining that in your written response that shows and proves that you understood the topic and that you were able to internalize that. So that's what I'm looking for when you write it, is were you able to do these things? And of course, I don't want you to give me an opinion. I think we're beyond that, right? You don't say I believe blah 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 blah. I want you focusing on the argument that was presented in the TED Talk that you watched, and that's what I'm going to be looking at, okay, is to see how well did you communicate what you learned about that argument. All right, so then here are some samples. I also put these, well, they won't publish quite yet, but they will publish probably Thursday morning. I want people to move slowly so they're not just trying to cram it all in one night. But I tried to put up a low scoring sample, sort of a low, middle, and then a high scoring sample. So this was on the TED Talk called The Hidden Power of Smiling. And I will have all these posted on the Schoology assignment on that quiz, so you can just click on them and read them yourself, and just feel free to go over them and see what did it, what scored well and what was sort of and what was pretty good. But most of the time what you'll notice is to get a solid score, to really prove that you understood the argument, you've had a chance to evaluate it, and now you're analyzing it and synthesizing it. You need to really be talking about the claim, the reasons, the evidence. What do they mean? What are the ramifications? What are the implications? That you're really restating that you're trying to explain to me or your reader what that argument was if we had never watched it. So you're in charge of teaching us what you watched. And then a strong sample is here. Now you will notice this is probably not a perfect, there's no such thing as perfect, but here you have one sentence in the introductory paragraph, which is fine. It is just a constructed response. It's not considered to be a formal essay. But I would combine that claim, that's the claim that the video was making. I would combine that with something along the lines of, in the TED Talk, The Hidden Power of Smiling by Ron Gutman, it is very clear that he is making the argument of boom, boom, boom. Smiling is considered to be a superpower, something that the speaker wants us all to embrace and to realize that we have to change the world. Okay? So you're trying to really grab us and pull us in and summarize what he's saying. So you'll notice here also, though, that in a constructed response, it's not like this is fairly, I would say this is pretty long for a constructed response. You'll notice these are not teal paragraphs. Topic, sentence, evidence analysis, link. Topic, sentence, evidence analysis, link. Right? They're not. There's that structure that I was teaching you earlier, that it just follows the argument. So it may not be that clear, formula in here. So you're just recapping what you learned, what you think it means, why it's important. So you can structure that really any way you want to. Some people would structure it more like introductory paragraph, reason, evidence 1, analysis of that would be the second paragraph, reason, evidence 2, analysis of that is the third paragraph, and then a conclusion. Some people might just do 2 paragraphs. They might do, the claim with reason and evidence 1, and then reason and evidence 2, and a little conclusion, just do 2 paragraphs. And I've even seen well-written constructed responses with 1 paragraph that is very thorough and complete. Remember, it's not about how much you say, it's about what you say. And I've tried to talk about that in class as well. Remember I told you, like, my default, I write way too much, sort of like when I talk way too much. But I can end up taking out a lot of that flowery language that I love to use, but I don't need. Clear and concise. But you want to get right to the point and really communicate what you know. And that's hard to do in I would say trying to confine it into a little box. But I don't want this to be, this is not a published piece. You're not doing a draft and a revision and a revision and a revision and a final draft. You are sitting down at a computer, reading the prompt and typing it, just like you would if you were taking the ACT or we were working on the Aspire testing, or maybe you're at the end of a science test or a history test. That's where we often see these constructed response requirements. So I just want you to be practicing that. It's a good skill to have, and I want you to learn how to manage that time and really learn to build some confidence in the world of writing short, clear, concise answers. All right. So that's what I want you to be working on this week for your assessment on Friday. And I thought that we would just end today with a little bit of extra credit because some of you are doing a great job of turning in that extra credit. Just some nice little bonus points. And right, they don't hurt you if you get them wrong. So I thought today we haven't played Grammar Punk in a long time. So I wanted to roll the dice. And I'm going to have you then create a sentence with whatever dice I roll that lets you practice your Grammar Punk a little bit and gives you some extra credit points. So here we go. I'm rolling. And I rolled, let's see, I'll write it over here. Let's see, I rolled, whoops, I can't have two vowels. That's not very smart. Okay, I have a J, and oops, you can't see my word. Okay, I have a J, and I have an A. So I have JA are my words I'm looking for. So remember, I'm going to take a minute, set a minute on the timer on your phone. You're going to come up with as many JA words as you possibly can. And then I have a 3 and a colon is my punctuation. My part of speech is a pronoun. All right, so that's my task this week. JA words. I need 3 of them in my sentence. Oh, that's the glare. Sorry about that. I didn't realize there was such a glare on that board. So it's a JA, a 3, a colon, which is this little guy right there. Okay, so you might need to use your Grammar Punk sheet to see how to do that. And then a pronoun. So those are those little words that take place of the nouns. Remember, he, she, it, they, we, us. And that's what you're building this week for some extra credit. I'll put it up and you can just type it in quickly into Schoology. I'll just call it extra credit. And then you'll put in your sentence there for me and I'll get that into the gradebook. Have a super day. I miss you. And I hope to see you soon. Stay healthy and safe. Bye.